Good morning, survivors. Today's a different kind of day, huh? Yeah, today I am with my son Noah. Say hi, Noah. Hi. He doesn't like being on video. Anyway, I'm with my son Noah, and we are at McDonald's getting ready to get breakfast because he wanted McDonald's today. So this is what I'm doing, and I'll be back shortly to finish this vlog. Recommended it. Well, that was fun. Next up, coffee time. So today I have a very interesting topic to talk to you about. All right, let's do it. So we're going to talk about cognitive distortions today and how those affect both narcissists and their victims. All right, let's do it. So even though the words cognitive distortion sound kind of fancy, kind of serious, really all they mean is that you think something that isn't true and you believe it to be true. Okay, so what does this have to do with narcissistic abuse and recovery and stuff like this, right? Well, because of the way that the narcissist conditions us to believe that things are what they want them to be, after a number of years or weeks or months or whatever, we can actually start to believe the lies that they tell us about ourselves as well as the world. Okay, so narcissists are commonly they have cognitive distortion as well, because they are so wrapped up in the false self that they portray to the world that they often believe their own lies. It's very interesting. So an example of a cognitive distortion might be that, if you're like, oh, I never win anything. I never, I always lose at everything. Okay, well, the fact is that you don't lose at everything. You probably have won something here and there, a game or a, whatever. But when you always think you lose, not only is that stinking thinking or whatever, but it's really negative for your personal development, I guess, and it puts you in this place. It's your energy that's the problem, because if you're always like, I always fail, then the law of attraction would indicate that you're going to attract more reasons to yourself to fail. You understand what I mean? That's called polarized thinking, and what that means is that it's thinking in absolutes, thinking everything is black or white. It can't be. There can be no gray. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So another type of cognitive distortion is called filtering, and that is where you literally pick out one or two details of a whole situation and you focus on that, and a lot of times you focus on the negative instead of the positive. So the point of that is that, again, it comes right back to the whole law of attraction thing, because if you're focusing on the negative, guess what you're going to get more of, okay? But when it comes to cognitive distortions, it's a whole other ball of wax, and that's... It can literally mean that your thoughts, while inaccurate, can thoughts become things. What you think about, you bring about, and all of that stuff. So if you're focusing on the things that aren't good in your life, and you focus on those few details that aren't working for you, or those many details that aren't working for you, you're going to attract more of those to yourself. Something to think about. Then we've got overgeneralization, another type of cognitive distortion. And that is exactly what it sounds like. You just assume that because something happened once, that it will always happen. Okay, so if you walk out of your front door and you trip over something, you might start to think that every time you walk out your front door, you're going to trip over something. Now, obviously, that's a very lame example, but that's kind of how it works. You think something will continue to happen because it happened one time. And this can be incredibly... exhausting for you, and it can be also, again, attract bad energy or negative energy toward you in your life. You know what happens when you assume, right? Yeah, jumping to conclusions is another way that you can have cognitive distortion. You can actually find yourself, for example, and this is something narcissists are great at, is they'll tell you, you know what, I know what you're thinking better than you do. That's really happened to me before. And I'll say, well, I wasn't thinking that. Well, yes, you were. You were thinking that I know you better than you know you. That's a common narcissistic behavior, so something to think about. Then there's catastrophe thinking. So what do I mean by that? Well, meaning, I like to call it, the doomsayer, where sometimes people will look for the worst possible meaning in every single thing, the worst possible outcome, and they'll focus on that. And that is terrible for your energy, not to mention for your life. It attracts more bad things into your life again. And so, if something happens, for example, all right, here's an example. So let's say, again, let's talk about the front porch since we're here. Okay, so let's say that you're on the front porch And let's say that, you notice that one of your columns is deteriorating. I have this problem right now. There's like a little edge on one of my columns I need to fix. Well, instead of just fixing the edge, you might be like, oh my gosh, this means that everything in my life is terrible now because my whole porch is going to fall apart and my whole house is going to fall into the ground. Freaking out about something small and imagining the worst possible thing that could happen from it. So, interesting fact regarding this is that sometimes people will use this type of thinking to magnify or minimize a person's accomplishments or their own mistakes or things like this. And you can imagine that where a narcissist will use it to magnify their accomplishments and minimize their mistakes. An empath and or a victim will use it the other way around. They'll sometimes minimize their accomplishments and maximize their mistakes. And that's something that, you have to move forward from and you have to stop doing to yourself. You feel me? Of course, you can't forget about personalization. This is another form of cognitive distortion that puts you in this place where, the person who experiences this literally thinks that everything's all about them. You don't know anybody like that, do you? They literally think that everything that they're doing, everything they're saying, everything you do, everything you say is all about them. So, like a narcissistic mother, for example, might, when her child, does something that they're not supposed to do, sneaks out one night or breaks the law or does something stupid, a narcissistic mother would say to that child, why would you hurt me this way? The thing is, I'll promise y'all that that child was not even thinking of the mother when she did that, or he did that, you know what I'm saying? But the mother takes everything personally. This is what I'm saying. This is how a narcissist behaves. So, now one of the ways that we as victims can experience this type of thinking is to think that we caused something that we didn't. And a lot of times that is taught to us by our narcissist. But, for example, like let's say that you were stopping at the gas station and you were late for dinner, and as a result, or and the person said to you, well, now I've overcooked dinner because you were late. I was waiting on you and I left it in the oven too. That's not your fault. They could have taken the damn dinner out of the oven. You know what I'm saying? But if you allow that to be your fault, then cognitive distortion, my friend. And it's very easy to do when you're in a relationship with someone like this because they're so incredibly selfish that it's easy to just forget. And then there's, kind of like a false control thing, right? So a lot of times when we are in situations where we don't have control of our lives, we will blame ourselves for everything that happens. And this happens to us as victims quite often and survivors because we have grown up to think that we are, not as good as other people, that we cause bad things in people's lives and things like this. So when we get to that place where we can go, okay, I'm all right now. I'm going to be fine. Everything's okay. Great. But when we get to that place where we're like, everything's my fault, that's a cognitive distortion, my friend. Everything isn't your fault. You can't make it rain. You can't make it, you can't help traffic. You don't have control over those things. And you can't blame yourself for things you don't have control over. And you certainly can't sit around stressing out about things you don't have control over because literally there's nothing you can do to change those things. So if you waste your energy focusing on things you can't change, my friend, you're not doing the right thing for yourself. Take care of yourself. All right. There's the whole life isn't fair thing. It's a cognitive distortion. It is fair or it isn't fair. Either way, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you expect it to, and sometimes it doesn't, things don't happen the way you want them to, and so you put yourself in this place where you feel like helpless and like you're being a victim of your own life almost, if that makes any sense. You feel resentful. You think things aren't fair. You think things are terrible, and that's cognitive distortion because, yeah, things are not fair sometimes, but you have to just be okay with life as it is, and you have to find the things to be grateful for and don't focus on those things that you can't control. Again, because that is literally that's crazy making. You know what I'm saying? Another cognitive distortion is blaming people for things that you have caused or for your own issues, or for major issues that person couldn't control, who generally does that, right? And then there's the whole issue of not taking personal responsibility. That's, that comes right along with that blaming factor. Taking personal responsibility, we actually allow other people to, we think, affect us. We allow other people to, we put our, and it's not really us, it's a narcissist will do this a lot of times. He or she will put their problems on someone else. Well, it's your fault that I'm this way because you've done this, or this. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? You have to open your eyes, you have to open your heart, and you have to recognize that you are not what they tell you that you are. You are yourself. You are a person. You are an individual, and you don't have to take care of another person's emotional needs, especially, and that sounds really selfish, but narcissists' emotional needs, it's a bottomless pit, all right? You can never fill it, and that's why they continually look for supply for their whole life. So don't allow yourself to be responsible for the pain of a narcissist, because you know that even though they are probably responsible for a large amount of your pain, they don't give a shit. And I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just being real with y'all. And I think that a lot of people, one of the most common cognitive distortions, especially among narcissists, but even among some supplies, is believing that people should behave a certain way and feeling like those are ironclad rules and you are somehow the enforcer of that thing. It's really a narcissistic behavior. But a lot of times when we are in situations with narcissists, we find ourselves, this coat is so stupid with this big shoulder pads anyway, we find ourselves feeling that way. Ourselves feeling responsible for their mistakes, their behavior, and they let us feel that way. They want us to feel that way. They think it's awesome when they don't have to take personal responsibility. They spend their lives looking for someone that will accept blame. It's time for Sophie's tip of the day.
You feel sad, think happy thoughts to get rid of those sad thoughts.
Good one, thank you. Look, I could go on and on about cognitive distortion, but I know you got things to do today, all right? So I just want you to know that you have the ability to change your life. You have the ability to make things better. Look, I'm drinking McDonald's coffee today, y'all. It's pretty good, surprisingly. You have the ability to change things. You can. So think about it. How do you want to change today? You get to change your thoughts. You get to choose your perception. You don't have to accept anyone else's opinion on what is acceptable, on what is real, on what is good for you. You get to choose. All right? You get to choose how you think. Don't choose to stink in thinking. Choose to think positively. Choose to think in ways that are productive for you. Choose to focus on what you can control and not what you can't. Choose to focus on what you're grateful for and not what sucks. That, my friend, is the key right there. All right? Okay, I'm wrapping up. I'll see you later today for another video. Several client appointments today. It's a busy day as usual. I love my life. I love my work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being there for me. I'm so happy that I can be here for you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life and a part of your day today. And thanks for being a part of mine and a part of your recovery. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day.